These are the top 20 reasons why UFO experiences like Bledsoe's testimony of angelic encounters is most certainly a demonic experience. Number 1, Hathor. In one account of meeting these spirits, Chris Bledsoe mentioned that the spirit identified herself as Hathor.
My dad comes home and he starts telling me, son, I saw this lady. She goes by Hathor, but that throughout time and across many cultures, she was known by many names.
In Egyptian mythology, Hathor was an ancient Egyptian deity associated with various realms such as motherhood, the sky, Horus, and the sun, Ra. She was also the goddess of beauty, sensuality, music, dance, and maternity. However, she was also known by various other names. Bledsoe further stated that Hathor appeared to his father, claiming to be Amon-Ra. I'm
like, what the hell? I've never heard of Hathor. And then he said that this being, the lady, she said that Amon-Ra is the hidden one. That's all she said. No,
what?
Amon-Ra is the hidden one. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
A combination of two prominent deities in Egypt, Amun, the creator, and Ra, the sun god. So this deity asserts herself as the creator and the sensuality goddess, encouraging worship.
It was a woman, beautiful beyond measure. She was glowing, this bluish-white color, and she had this white dress on that sparkled when it was flowing. And it looked like an old Roman dress. It went all the way to her feet and sleeves out to her hands here.
In the Bible, depictions of Egyptian gods are often associated with fallen angels, resembling Lucifer, who was cast out of heaven and began inhabiting earth after the fall of man. The Egyptians worshipped these gods, and the story of Exodus highlights the lengths to which the true God went to demonstrate his superiority over these fallen deities. Isaiah 14:12 even portrays Satan as an angel of light, declaring that he will be as the Most High, and he will be worshipped as God. So appearing as an Egyptian god aligns itself with the wrong side of the spiritual battle. Egypt and their gods were always considered to be the place on earth where they were the most deceived by the spiritual battle the Bible talks about. Number 2, Roger Murnau. In Montreal, Canada, Roger Murnau was groomed to join an elite group devoted to worshiping Lucifer.
So in reality, Roger, you were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
He says, we are the elite. We know the real truth about the Master and his angels.
Before escaping this occult group, Murnau was warned that the fallen angels would deceive the world leaders at the end of time by posing as aliens, claiming to help Earth until they gain their trust.
And the priest told us, could I have a little bit more of your time? I want to tell you something very fascinating. He says the grand plan for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff, because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it. It was a big thing that was coming up, one of the major deceptions of the last days.
So we can conclude that when deception does occur, it'll be tangible and audible, just as the snake was in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Number 3, the Bible. Various statements from Jesus in the Bible forewarn his closest friends about the deception from Satan in the final events.
Revelation 16 says these unclean spirits, they go and they perform signs and wonders. And Jesus warns in the Gospel of Luke, and it's repeated in the book of Acts chapter 2, that there will be signs in the heavens. And a lot of people are going to be seeing things in the skies in the last days. The Bible says that in prophecy. So we need to know what the truth is, what to believe and what not to believe, because I think that evil spirits are going to use that to manipulate people in the last days.
Number 4, poltergeist activity. The military acknowledges that with UAP activity, unusual occurrences resembling those used with Ouija boards and occult practices happen often.
My name is Matthew Roberts. I was a cryptologic technician in the U.S. Navy for 16 years. I found myself watching the footage over and over again, almost obsessively. I started to have these follow-on experiences with the phenomenon. That was like the beginning of seeing non-human entities in my room at night. Because my job was classified and I had access to classified, I was kind of aware this was not a one-off event for the Navy. These things happen frequently. All the time. They happen all the time.
These events suggest spiritual pranks and eerie situations. They also have stated that these activities persist for days, even following you home.
What other types of experiences are we talking about?
Well, go ahead, you can talk.
I mean, anything you can think of, really. We've seen things like jump off of the table without being touched, like things moving on their own, seeing shadow figures being touched, anything, like you would think it was a haunted house growing up, but that's, part of how we explain that this is all spiritual in nature, is because it can really manifest in any way that it wants to. And so the phenomenon is not limited to what people think of as aliens or UFOs, where we were obviously seeing orbs every night as well. We were seeing things in the home that you would think of as like ghostly maybe, but it was all the same stuff.
Not something you would expect from a kind and righteous entity. Number 5, phone a friend. MUFON researchers have discovered that there has been a cover-up. Then when MUFON goes to someone's house and takes their testimony, that a lot of testimonies from these experiencers suggest that they have been able to stop the experience by calling out in Jesus' name. This cover-up hasn't been done by the government, but has been done by the researchers themselves. Director of MUFON in Florida, Joe Jordan, asserts that these events can be immediately, permanently halted by establishing a relationship with Jesus and calling upon his name.
As an abduction researcher over 30 years now, working with over 600 cases over these past 30 years, one commonality we found was that there's only one real way to stop these abduction experiences, and that was by calling out in the name and authority of Jesus Christ. And you could permanently stop these as a life pattern by developing a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Number 6, government research. According to Lou Elizondo, high-ranking Pentagon officials who have researched this phenomenon declare it as demonic activity, actively avoiding involvement.
This is a Department of Defense official saying, stop looking at UFOs because they're demonic?
Correct. He's told me, he said, Lou, I want you to stop doing this. I said, okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why? And he says, well, we already know what it is. He asked me point blank, have you read your Bible lately? And I said, well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this? And he said, well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them.
David Grutch, a former Pentagon official, also mentions his desire for more information on this topic from the government, but he acknowledges that malevolent events have happened in association with it.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
David Grutch notes that whatever this entity is, it's not always benevolent. Number 7, casualties. Tucker reveals that brain scientists have studied over 200 military personnel's brains who have encountered and died while approaching these glowing spiritual entities known as UAP.
This summer, we got a call. We didn't reach out. This person called us. Lexi, who's standing right there, who's a genius, one of our producers, gets this call from this guy who's a tenured Stanford medical school professor, and he wants to come on the show. Now, this guy has a couple patents, and so he's rich. And he's got tenure at one of the most prestigious schools in the world. So, he's not a flake. He comes on, and he's like, 11 years ago, the US government reached out to me because I'm an expert on head injuries, on brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, as a physician, and they had all these court cases from families of US servicemen, over 100, who'd been killed by UFOs. And the Department of Defense was refusing to give them death benefits or medical benefits. And I'm like, and he's like, so they're in the courts. And I was like, there are over 100 servicemen killed by UFOs? Like, what? He's like, yeah, and there are court cases about it. I'm like, why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times? I don't know. But he goes, I'm involved in it. I'm one of the researchers. I'm the expert witness in these cases.
Most UFO researchers attribute the collateral damage to a misunderstanding of the phenomenon. But if these supernatural beings were generally benevolent and all-knowing, one would expect them to prevent harm to humans when in their proximity. One can only conclude that they don't care. Number 8, statements on death. MUFON director Joe Jordan discovered that this phenomenon often brings what appears to be dead relatives or dead friends. Or does it?
Something that showed up that was unusual in the research over our years that we've been looking at this is not just myself, but other researchers. I think Barbara Bartholic was one of them, Whitley Strieber. We've all come across cases where testimonial of the experience, the person talks about actually meeting dead relatives during the experience when they're taken aboard a craft. And we've also come across other researchers that have talked about the same thing, where they've had the experiencers share the testimony that they too have come across friends that have died or relatives that have died during the experiences. And that doesn't make any sense at all, being that this is supposed to be about aliens.
These seemingly deceased loved ones are not who they appear to be. Stanford University professor Gary Nolan states that captured images typically do not align with what individuals see in their eyes.
Whatever the phenomenon is, it's capable of manipulating human perception, human consciousness.
Right.
It can make us see things that aren't there.
I mean, the best example of this that I know is a story that Jacques Vallée brought to me of a family in France driving down the highway. This was like in the last 5 to 10 years. And they had a glass-topped car. And they look up and they see a UFO, basically paralleling them down the highway. The mother looks around and sees that no other individuals nearby are freaking out about this thing above them. The children in the back take out their cell phones, take a picture of it. They get home and they look at the pictures on their camera and they don't see an object. They see a little star-shaped thing about 30 so feet above it. And I have the picture. Even if it was an object, that was there. Others weren't capable of seeing it, so it was manipulating vision. So yes is the short answer.
This raises questions about whether the appearance of these beings is genuinely visible or if they are projected into our minds spiritually. Former occultists have even claimed that the appearance of their dead family members was a demonic activity.
I was involved with occult practices for almost a full decade, and after my conversion, if you will, I felt it. I was in the kitchen by myself and I felt it come up next to me, and I said out loud, I said, God, whatever this is that's been posing as grandma for the past 7 years, in Jesus' name, get it away from me and never let it come back. And it hasn't been back since.
What do you think that was? Just a hallucination or a...
To be perfectly honest, a demon.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of ghosts, anything of that kind of sort.
You don't believe in
aliens.
ghosts?
I don't.
The Bible explicitly says, after death, a person returns to the dust, knows nothing, possesses no mental powers, has nothing to do with anything on earth, does not live, waits in the grave, and continues not. And the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The soul dies. And Job 14:12 says, a man lies down and does not rise till the heavens are no more. So when are the heavens no more? Well, 2 Peter 3:10 says, the day of the Lord will come, in which the heavens will pass away. The heavens are no more when the day of the Lord comes. So when does man rise from the dead? When the day of the Lord comes. And yet, what we see from this phenomenon is the lie that says, you will not surely die. In fact, what we read in the Bible in Genesis 3 was, you will not surely die. That's the first lie told to Eve. Number 9, destruction. The UAP phenomenon is frequently observed over locations facing imminent, immediate, or permanent destruction, war, or potential destruction, like nuclear warhead facilities.
A pillar of fire at night and confused Russian troops. It has some asking, are Ukrainians receiving heavenly help?
There's some miracle happened. It looked like some spaceship, like there was like an attack from the spaceship. There was some kind of a lightnings was starting shooting from the sky, and like sparks were like spreading everywhere. And then on the morning, they discovered that the whole machinery was destroyed.
While some researchers believe it aims to protect us, others are skeptical. Because if there was a court case and you were always near a crime scene, would the police think, he's trying to protect the innocent from the crime, he's always at the right place at the right time? Or would you become a suspect? We're only halfway through, but if you have learned something so far, please hit that subscribe button. We discuss this material every week with the latest news about this growing phenomenon. So hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell icon, hit the like button if you desire to see more of this content. Number 10, a desire for worship. In Bledsoe's testimony, he revealed that the phenomenon declares itself worship worthy, claiming to be God, not just any God, but the creator God who created us.
They gave him a message. They gave him a long message, you know. They said they're the guardians. They said that they work for creation, that they created us, they protect us from the forces of darkness and things like that. And through the aeons, meaning, you know, the ages, thousands and thousands of years, they have sort of like overseen our, you could say, evolution.
Though it did not explicitly demand worship yet, according to the Bible, this may soon be the case, as fallen angels seek worship from humanity the most. Number 11, common religious experiences. Another common trait also highlighted by George Jordan, director of MUFON, also highlights that these experiences often conclude with entities declaring that Jesus is not who he claims to be.
Many of the communications that are talked about coming from the alien entities to the experiencers over the past decades have talked about these entities bringing the message that God is not the God we think he is. They are our gods, that Jesus is not who we believe that he is to be. He's just another ascended master like many that have come at different times in history. Also that the Bible is not real. Creation is not real. It seems to be focused on the one religious experience of Christianity, never against another one.
It's peculiar for these beings from afar to traverse vast distances just to challenge the identity of one man in one religion for one person in a field somewhere. Unless that is their primary objective, and they're not from far away. In fact, the government expresses doubt about the extraterrestrial nature. If they observe something, it typically originates from Earth first.
National Reconnaissance Office. Every time they launch something from up there, come check it out. Swim right up to it or fly up to it and make sure it's not something that shouldn't be.
It really removes the extra from extraterrestrial, doesn't it? Number 12, private research. Tom DeLonge received the UFO Researcher of the Year award in 2017, but discovered that this phenomenon has unusual ties to seemingly malevolent forces.
When people start to understand more about the UFO phenomenon, the term the occult in that whole world is much more a part of the UFO phenomenon that's part of what makes it more complex than just little green men and flying saucers and tinfoil hats. And mind you, as we'll talk about this in a little bit, it's not all coming from me, it's coming from other people of the highest places. There is a very, very strong link between what people think demons are from the Bible and other religions and the UFO phenomenon. And what you have is something that doesn't like man, period, and something that feels either jealous of or has some kind of plan for what man is to be.
This echoes Jacques Vallée's belief that these entities are deceivers, messengers of deception. Number 13, racist philosophy. The common UFO philosophy that some of us on Earth are mixed with alien DNA, a prevalent aspect of the UFO lore, has a tragic consequence. Researcher Jacques Vallée states, the pernicious suggestion that some of us on Earth are of extraterrestrial descent and therefore constitute a higher race. The danger inherent in this belief should be obvious to anyone who hasn't forgotten the genocide of World War II, executed on the premise that some races were somehow purer and better than others. Number 14, the Vatican involvement. According to David Grutch, at least since 1933, the Vatican has been closely connected with the United States on the UFO issue.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet.
Certainly.
Although the Catholic Church claims to be the first church after Jesus Christ, the speed at which it descended into apostasy was mind-blowing, persecuting the Christians for possessing a Bible, asserting itself in the place of God, and encouraging relationship with idols of dead people rather than Jesus Christ. Any deep involvement with the Vatican may, at the very least, be questionable. Number 15. Climate change. Science has long predicted major global issues due to climate change, and it's not surprising that ufology is promoting the same agenda.
There are two things that they keep saying over and over again. Number one, you've got to get rid of your nuclear weapons programs. And secondly, you've got to stop polluting your planet with petroleum. You know, that you're polluting your planet and contaminating it. You know, and you're going to ruin the entire climactic system of your planet.
According to Matthew 24, major Earth catastrophes coincide with spiritual forces impersonating Jesus Christ as the Antichrist power until the second coming.
Coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it. One of the major deceptions of the last days.
It's no wonder that climate change is a significant concern in politics today, because although it might not be for the reasons they state, it certainly will be a tragic ending. Number 16, UFO religions. Two popular UFO religions, Raelism and Scientology, do not adhere to the Bible at all. Most are even opposed to the Bible and instill a desire to discard it among their followers.
Religions, they don't even rationalize when it comes to this stuff. It's just straight by that book. And they'll be the ones that we have the most to deal with, I think, because they don't have room for any deviation of possibilities other than what that book says.
Number 17, become a god. Divinity was the first lie told to man by the snake, manifested by the fallen angel Satan in the Garden of Eden. In Genesis 3, the snake said, "You will not surely die. You will be like God, knowing good and evil."
We may eat fruits from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruits from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die.
Oh, no, you poor thing. You most certainly would not die. In fact, that would be utterly preposterous. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened to the higher light. You will become deity. You would be like God.
This same lie has been perpetuated throughout all of ufology.
We are divine. I believe we're divine. I think we all are.
Number 18, healing people. In the last days, the Bible says that spirits will possess powers to perform miracles. 2 Thessalonians 2:8 says, "Spirits, even the Antichrist, will use every kind of power, including miracles and wonderful signs, but they will be lies." Some interesting Bible commentary says, "Through the agencies of spiritualism, miracles will be wrought, the sick will be healed, and many undeniable wonders will be performed." And as the spirits will profess faith in the Bible and manifest respect for institutions of the church, the Spirit's work will be accepted as a manifestation of divine power. This is exactly what we are just beginning to see in the case of the Bledsoes after his 2013 experience with the spirit that calls herself the Egyptian god Hathor, Amun-Ra.
In 2013, when the lady came back, when I saw her, she imparted another thing on me that I may have had it before, but I didn't realize it until 2 weeks later.
Bledsoe goes on to describe how he was able to heal his dog that had a large gash in her neck.
I felt this energy come through my hand, and I felt her go completely limp. And when I raised my hand, there was no more hole in her neck.
This experience had led him to believe that the spirits had imparted healing powers onto him, which allowed him into the United States government to heal people.
And he was slumped over, face down. I mean, out cold, completely turned white. And they were trying to revive him, couldn't get him awake. And they dragged me through the crowd, and I put my hands on his shoulders. The very instant I did, he sat up and took a big breath. And they looked at me and said, my God, you saved him.
Although healings were a sign of Jesus' divinity on earth, the Bible is clear that these miracles and signs and wonders will be a part of the last deception. Number 19, female angels. It's interesting to note that the Bible never depicts angels, beings of light, with the appearance of women. Now, these entities are not saying they are angels yet, but many people are presuming they are.
When I think of these beings, I think in terms of the various mythologies around the world. You know, I think of like Irish fairies. I think of like Arabic jinn or genies. I think of biblical angels.
But what's interesting about the case of the Bledsoes is that they saw a female entity. Every angel in the Bible appears masculine. This is likely because angels do not procreate. And according to Jesus, procreation requires marriage. Without procreation, there's no mammary glands indicating femininity. Since angels lack breasts, humans identify them with the appearance of men. However, in UFO and occult lore, most spirit beings, especially those perceived as benevolent, are depicted as female. Now, don't consider this hard truth because deception is inherent of these lying spirits, and they can appear as whatever they want to. Number 20, demonic oppression and abduction similarities. According to the Bible, good angels never possess humans. Only bad angels engage in possession. The abduction experiences share notable similarities with possession. In both alien abduction and demonic possession accounts, individuals often describe a sense of losing control over their own bodies or mind. Many individuals who claim to have experienced either alien abduction or demonic possession report memory lapses or missing time during events. And both phenomena often include experiences considered paranormal or beyond conventional understanding. Experiencers of both phenomena may suffer from psychological distress, anxiety, and trauma as a result of their encounters. And both describe encounters with non-human entities while they're in a trance-like state. So there you have it, folks, the top 20 reasons why alien abductions may be perceived as demonic experience produced by spiritual entities called fallen angels. If you found value in this video, please hit that subscribe button for more updates because we give you the up-to-date information from our weekly podcast each week, and you're going to want to hear that. And if you think this is an important message and really want to spread it further, join our Patreon at patreon.com/strangenormal and become a private community member of many people who are just like you researching this spiritualism that is about to break upon the world.